So what does today's rate rise by the Reserve Bank mean if you're looking to enter the housing market or you've already got a mortgage? Peter White is Managing Director of the Finance Brokers Association of Australia. Peter, how does your organisation see today's decision and what it means for home buyers?
Yeah, good afternoon, Steve. Yeah, it's today's decision is certainly going to put some spanners in the works of some people's plans as they're looking at entering the marketplace as first home buyers, or those who are looking at refinancing, or maybe you're buying another property. It has an impact across the whole lending spectrum, but nothing that isn't unexpected. And we've still got a way to go on that journey. But one of the things we have to remember, Steve, is that the interest rate's one thing. It's the rate at which you are assessed to service a loan, which they call the floor rate, is higher again. So the benchmark is certainly moving for people to be able to look to get a loan of any sort at the moment.
Is the Reserve Bank sending clear signals then? I mean, they're really trying to tackle inflation. My previous guests think they didn't, they haven't gone strong enough. Everyone has a view on it. At least, do you think people are getting the message from the Reserve Bank that they're actually they're worried about inflation and what you can buy with your dollar when you spend a dollar?
Steve, I hope so. This interest rate climb has still got a ways to go yet. I would expect by the end of the year we're sitting probably around 4.5% as a home loan variable rate, and in the next year we'll probably get somewhere in the 5 range. There is a journey on this that we're yet to fully go down the path of, and people need to change their expectations of how lending works and how much they can actually afford to borrow. And I know some of your previous callers have been talking about the property market and how one of the cause and effects of this is slowing down property pricing, and in plenty of cases now reducing what property prices are, because people simply can't borrow the same amount of money they used to, and that's going to get more difficult as time goes by. It certainly plays out in the dynamics of the marketplace. What people can and can't do, how that impacts the property prices. And, for example, right now, this change in interest rate today for the average Queensland home loan is going to cost them about $140 a month. Right? It's a little bit either way, depending on your loan size, but that's not 2 cents.
I agree. Now, finally, is anyone not able to meet their payments? What's the data say on what's called distressed residential property listings? What does it say about us here? Yeah,
well, we did some research at the back end of last year that said that once rates had gone up enough to increase people's repayments by $300 a month, 57% of people said they'd wind up in financial hardship, which is principally what you're talking about. 43% of people said they'd be fined. And that equates to roughly a 1% increase in rates. We're here there today. So there's concerns that we have with people and their ability to continue servicing their loans. And if anybody does get into difficulty, the first thing they must do is reach out to their lender, to their bank, and talk to the hardship teams. Don't leave that to a last-minute conversation. Get onto that sooner than later, and then look at what your options are. But there's certainly stress coming, and I dare say stress is now on the doorstep for a lot of people.
Is there any evidence that it is turning house price growth down, or the value of houses in Queensland is dropping? Is there any evidence that, the turn has occurred, we were at ridiculously high increases before, now it's dropping here in Queensland?
Yeah, so yes, well, I haven't got the data on hand, but we have seen coming past our office drops of around 10%. There's some market commentary saying it could get as high as 20 or 25% or come back to pre-pandemic style prices. I think that's probably a step too far. But we are seeing some of these corrections happening right now, and it impacts, especially if you're trying to refinance, but it impacts that style of scenario. So you got to get your home revalued, and all of a sudden it's not coming in as you expected. So it certainly has an impact. We haven't seen it had a dire impact that it meant people couldn't do whatever they were trying to do, but that tide is certainly turning.
Peter, thanks very much.
Pleasure, Steve. All the best.